Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a DbD discussion video. This is a new one, isn't it? I don't think I've started any video, actually, maybe, with a survivor on the screen on this channel. That's, yeah, I think that's new for me too. But today we're going to be playing Entity's Advocate. To an extent, I'll get this right now. You've probably seen the thumbnail and or the title by now. Sometimes people don't read. But if you're looking for a bad guy main that is going to crap their pants about this perk that seems to be doing a lot of talk of the town, that's not going to be here. And on the flip side, if you're expecting a bad guy main that's going to be like, oh my gosh, please nerf it, I guess you could put that in the same category. Not going to do that here. It's not going to be defending this perk's honor, per se, but I'm going to talk about both my issues and why it's not an issue with this perk. So, without further ado, what are we talking about today? We're talking about Distortion. You start the trial with 3 tokens. When your aura would be shown to the baddie, the perk activates and a token is consumed. For the next 10 seconds, while this perk is activated, your aura and scratch marks are not shown to the baddie. This perk does not activate when you are down. You regain a token every 30 seconds spent inside of the baddie's terror radius, and you may not have more than 3 tokens. So, right off the bat, I want to clarify something that people get confused with another perk. For Distortion, you can indeed regain tokens while in chase. The one that doesn't have that clause is Stakeout. So I know this might get confusion for anybody that wasn't confused, but just a reminder, for Distortion, you can get these tokens while you are in chase. However, you cannot for Stakeout. That's that clause. Which is where I think that it should be changed, where it seems kind of insane that, hey, it's to keep you from being found, and then once you are found, you can continue to make sure that it's on to not be found. Don't understand why that's the clause, but, you know, it's an old perk. So that's really my biggest issue with it. Unless that's changed in recent time, I'm still pretty sure that's how that works. I even fact checked it before getting on here and didn't see otherwise. So, hey, that's that. As far as why we're talking about this today and why anybody seems to be talking about it, and why I don't have too much sympathy for it. Distortion is a perk that really encourages survivors to play stealth. And that's fine. It's fine. My ideology behind it, really, or I shouldn't say ideology, philosophy, I guess might be more appropriate, is the fact that there's some perks in this game that I just accept exist. They aren't great, in the sense that it's not great to go against them, but you kind of just accept that they exist and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. That's me with Distortion, and that was me with this perk when it was the king of exhaustion perks. I've talked about this a lot and have videos from over 365 days to prove kind of my attitude towards when it was popular, and I treat it just the same. You know that it's going to be in play on probably at least one person in the lobby, and you kind of have to just accept it. Like, there's not too much you can do about it. Unfortunately, it's there. And with Distortion, I don't care about it personally because it's not often that I'm running aura perks anyway. Or, yeah, aura perks, add-ons, whatever it may be. There's not very many times where I'm running a build in which I am actually trying to get aura reading information. So that's why I don't feel it as much as some people that do like to run full aura builds. That said, I don't feel bad about Ultimate Weapon because of this perk. For Distortion, it blocks all aura reading. All of it. All of it, as long as you have tokens, it's done. And then, if you want to go with true stealth, that I've seen some people running as well, you put on Calm Spirit, and you go, what? They shouldn't have to run Calm Spirit to counter one perk. Oh no! Oh my gosh! It's not fair. Why are you making people run Calm Spirit to counter the Ultimate Weapon? Even though it will also counter literally Doctor's Power to an extent, and Infectious Fright, and Friends to the End, to an extent, and so on and so forth. I don't have sympathy for this, because these two perks, if you have both of them, all tracking perks are done. They're just done. It's over. It's done. That's it. And to Distortion's case, again, like just going back to that, let's do a quick simple right here. We're going to type in aura. And all of these perks that you see, okay, ignore the ones that have aura for things that aren't survivors, but let's see, what can I type to accurately? Auras of survivors. Aura of. Okay, probably can't type survivor aura to make this a little bit more accurate, but this is about 4 pages of perks that more or less get countered. Ignore this one too. Right. Other position. Alright, yeah. So, around 4 pages. Let's just lowball it and say maybe 3, because there are some ones that are here that don't make too much sense, such as Pentimento. Or, to be even more generous, we'll say even just 2 pages worth. 2 full pages, even though I can already tell it's more than 2 pages worth of perks that, you get blocked out. You get Gearhead blocked out. You get Retribution blocked out from this page. I'm all ears, Undying, Face the Darkness to an extent. Darkness Revealed, Bitter Murmur. I don't have to go through all of them. My point being that just by having Distortion, a portion of the baddies perks are out of the game, for you to not be able to be played against that one specific Distortion user. So, does that make it a problem? No, because in truth, you can still find people without aura perks. You can still find them, it just makes your life easier. And once you know that it's in play, you know to play differently. The same way that once they know, they get the notification that, at the beginning, you have a Lethal Pursuer. They probably have maybe Barbecue on. If they hook somebody and my stat goes away, Barbecue's in play. So it works both ways, that once you know that it's there, you know it's there, and you just have to keep on pushing on in a different way. For the Survivor side, that means you get to call out whatever's going on. If you want to save a stack where it's just like, alright, I know they're about to hook, and I know that they have Barbecue given every time I lose a token, then okay, I'll be in this locker. Or on the flip side, you go, alright, well, I know that they won't be able to see me, I'm going to stick this gen anyway. Whereas for the baddie side, you go, alright, 3 of these people have Distortion anyway, so I'm not going to be able to find them every time I hook somebody. Might as well just not rely on that too much and try to pressure one objective a little bit more heavier. And I don't want to say this, but realistically what ends up happening is you tunnel the person that doesn't have Distortion, or the one that finally ran out of stacks, or something like that. You go, alright, well, you all don't want to be found? Guess what? I finally found somebody. This person's out of the game. And you play hardball if that's the case. I don't usually recommend tunneling, camping, whatever, but that's the reality, right? We do have to accept that if you throw on something like Distortion, You throw in something like know it. Guess what? You don't get the same easy ball of not sweating too much. And I know some people would go, they were sweating anyway. All right, then fine. Why are we crying about what one side has on the other one, right? Okay, so that's why I feel about distortion, but also why I don't care if somebody has ultimate weapon, because distortion counters all of the aura perks just by existing as one perk. So I have no sympathy that it takes a second perk to just never be found when they don't want to be. I don't have sympathy for that. But going back to the the bad side for me, going back to distortion, why is it not a problem though? Well, like I said, you kind of know it's there, and it doesn't always have to be the way, right? You don't always have to know where somebody is via aura to get value out of it one way or another. There is value from just knowing that it's in play. So, there's a lot of things that you start to learn throughout the game of how somebody with distortion will play. Um, One thing that I saw as a talking point is that, truthfully, there's nothing wrong with distortion. It's the people that are using distortion. They're the people that will unhook you and then immediately crouch behind something, letting you be tunneled out of the game because they don't want to be found. Like I was saying, that once you finally find somebody, alright, it's usually reps for that person once distortion is in play for most of the lobby, right? Um, a lot of it is because, well, the players. You know the ones that don't want to be found. And then when they are found, it's over, right? It's done. They aren't lasting in chase that long. They aren't helping you do anything, really, because they don't want to risk being found. That's why distortion is here. So it's a net negative for pretty much everybody involved with this, kind of like self care. But the thing that gets scary is the people that have distortion and still play the game, but realistically, they don't exist too much. Distortion only becomes a problem when you are bringing an aura build versus survivors and suddenly you have no perks. That's where it really becomes a problem, no matter how good or bad those survivors are. Because, quite frankly, good survivors want to be found. And that's unfortunately the reality of it. I can't have too much sympathy about, oh my gosh, distortion is busted, because good players aren't necessarily running distortion. The one that has distortion is the one that knows that their best bet is not being in chase and being on a gen somewhere else. And to that, you don't need aura to know what gen you should be at. You should, by some point of the game, understand that, well, I'm about to lose gen over there because it's going off, boom, bam, bop. I kind of have a feeling of what gens, more or less, don't interact with my game plan. I was talking about it in the past video, or maybe there was just a live stream. But you understand that, well, I don't really want to defend the gen in main. So we're not going to go to main, and you let it go, and then you focus on the other ones. But this is a problem for people that are new to the game, that aren't truly understanding that, to which I think this kind of helps. Yeah, I'm going to say that because it helps in the greater scheme of things. Once you understand that, it helps in the way that breaking an arm does. It hurts, but if everything's done right, technically, I don't know if this should be been debunked since my 90s baby days, but in theory, and when I broke my arm, this is what they told me, it'll come back stronger, right? You get kicked a little bit because Distortion's in play, but then you start realizing, alright, well, if they're gonna have Distortion anyway, I've got to figure out how to find people without aura perks. You get a sense of game sense, map awareness, or whatever you want to call it. I remember when I was fresher to the game, I was watching a stream and some other streamer came in to comment about something. And this is again with E being prominent and a different community per se, because as the game goes on, people get better, right? So let's just say this is everybody still relying on E and the other side still relying on barbecue because you're getting points. But they made a good point, is just that the person that came into the chat, don't remember who it is, but you make a good point, is you're told when you start playing this game, the perks that you want on a baddie is some tracking, some general aggression, something in chase, and something to help you just overall, right? Those are the ones that you really want to focus on. But as we've seen with this game go on, that's not the case. And that's kind of what I've done with my build videos, hopefully, to show that that isn't where the best tactics and focus come from. Let's go back over to the baddie side of things. I make builds, and I do understand that the build videos have been in a little bit of a slump right now, and that actually is a question I have for you all. You seem to be enjoying discussion more than builds right now, and I wonder if that's a part of just DbD being in a slump at this moment, or just you all prefer me talking than giving build videos. Appreciate input on that in the comments. But what I pretty much want to say about builds is that the general advice you'll find won't work. That's why you'll find some baddies will then slap on 3 slowdowns and Lethal Pursuer or Corrupt, because they go, hey, nothing's working, so the only thing that I know works is making it so that they have to do the gen more, so I have time to play the game, and Corrupt or Lethal is for them to play the game. So, what do you do? Well, in truth, you kind of have to learn as you go. And you make builds that suits to your playstyle and the character you're playing. And you go, hey, well, hopefully you learn that, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not doing too hot with Singularity. And what was the last Singularity build I put out? I was testing this. I think this was the last one, right? As I discovered when I was making that video, I go, alright, well, I'm not doing too hot overall. What would help me do better? You go, but Monster, you have some tracking here. I do. I do have Infectious Fright. As you can see, that's not aura based though, right? If I know that everybody's bringing Distortion, and I do have some tracking on somebody that's pretty good at tracking, alright, you know, fine, it can't hurt, because this will save me from having to check my cameras. But now I also have Forced Hesitation, because I'm learning that people like to clump up against my Singularity or Singularity in general with EMPs and so on and so forth. And guess what? Forced Hesitation goes good with Infectious Fright, so Infectious Fright can't hurt. But I'm also having trouble with just like people not being too scared of me. So, you throw on Make Your Choice, and if they disrespect Make Your Choice, well, they have a tough time. And then I throw on Monster Shrine for a little bit of mess around and find out. And you find out that, hey, if they want to stick to those gens, or they don't want to respect Make Your Choice, or whatever it may be, they are getting punished for it. It might not be the best punish, but they're getting punished for it. What's another build I've put out recently? Or, of course, my pretty much go-to favorite night build, right? I have some tracking on there in a way that isn't aura based. And it's a different thing because it's also a task. They need to address it one way or another if they don't want me to get this information. So I don't care if it's gone or not because I'm getting a benefit from it. If somebody is addressing it and it's gone, that means that's time that they weren't on a gen. If they don't address it, I'm getting information. And then I don't have any gen slowdown here. I'm just making so that everything hurts, right? What's another one? Who else have I used? My tricky build has ultimate weapon, but that was more so for a discussion that you all saw. If you saw that video, people seem to enjoy that. But I say all this to say that you have to understand your character more so than the perks you put on them. Which I remember one YouTuber. I don't want to get it wrong on who did it. Maybe two people did it. But there was a conversation of realizing if it is better for your, or not better, but if it takes more for your power to carry you in games or the perks. And the result is perks. If you throw on 3 slowdowns, alright, even if that person has distortion, guess what? They won't be able to use it because they didn't play the game for long enough. And on the flip side, hey, people are bringing a lot of gen kick, so that just means we have to be more efficient and never be found, so they waste more time in chase. It's this tug of war back and forth for all of it that you just have to take into account what they don't have to get the most value out of what is on a build and what's not, and what you're doing with it. So, to that extent, and I hope this makes it more clear as a final point, with Distortion, if you know it's in play, you already know what's not in play. That means that, alright, 3 of them have Distortion. The worst they can have is 3 other people running hyper-focused stakeout resilience, or whatever it may be, right? This Distortion could be a deja vu. Now, mind you, you won't ever know if they have deja vu until you get to the end of the game and you go, man, I guess that does explain why those gens went faster, rather. But once you understand or you find that person that has distortion, or you find that person that has distortion calm spirit, you already know 2 of the perks, and you know, alright, they're kind of useless once you find somebody within the game, whether it be they've given up chase, and you notice that, they didn't sprint burst me or E or whatever. You now know, well, that's because they don't have access to it because they really want it to never be found, and once you find that person, just put them down. And thank you to whoever popped up on the screen. I don't have that information at me right now while I'm doing these recordings, so thank you for whatever you just did right now. And welcome to the video because I'm pretty sure this was the one that's going live since I was wrapping it up. But yeah, that's why I want to tell everybody distortion isn't the problem you think it is, but also it is the reason that I don't have sympathy for ultimate weapon. So until all of these perks get changed where none of them do anything at this end of the day, let the people that are running Distortion Calm Spirit do it, because you'll find out that they are absolutely useless at some other aspect of the game, and you have to pretty much exploit that, and that's just learning the game. And, well, yeah. So, if you like the video, like it, got a comment for me, comment, and until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.